to move a civilian population, certain conditions must be met. First of all, it has to be temporary. It can only be until the hostilities are completed. Number two, civilians have to be directed to safer areas where their basic humanitarian needs are met. And thirdly, the civilians can only be evacuated if it's a dire military necessity. And on all three of these, our report and documentation shows that Israel has failed to meet the burden. Therefore, they are committing forced displacement. And because it's pursuant to a state policy, it is a crime against humanity.
Human Rights Watch's statement comes amid mounting concerns about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The rights organization emphasized that these actions violate international law.
In addition to forced displacement, there are certain areas in Gaza where the Israeli military has bulldozed entire areas, buffer zones, the Netzarim corridor, areas around the border fence. And in these areas, Palestinians have been displaced, and there's been mass destruction of all civilian infrastructure in those areas. In those areas, Israel has committed ethnic cleansing.
The rights organization emphasized that these actions violate international law, which prohibits the forced displacement of civilian populations from occupied territories unless it is essential for the protection of civilians or for imperative military needs.
In order to respond to the situation in Gaza, Human Rights Watch is calling on third countries to publicly condemn Israel's forced displacement and crimes against humanity. HRW is also calling on countries to cut off weapon supplies to Israel, suspend weapon sales, as well as to impose targeted sanctions against authorities who are responsible for ongoing violations. In addition, we believe that the International Criminal Court prosecutor should investigate forced displacement in Gaza.
While Israel's military has denied accusations of attempting to create permanent buffer zones in Gaza, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar stated that Palestinians displaced from northern Gaza would be allowed to return once the conflict ends. However, the continued displacement and destruction have drawn sharp criticism from international bodies, who warn that Israel's actions risk violating fundamental human rights and international law. The situation remains highly volatile, with no immediate signs of a ceasefire or resolution to the ongoing humanitarian crisis.
On November 14, 2023, Britain's King Charles III marked a milestone, turning 75 years old. Born in Buckingham Palace at precisely 9:14 p.m. on November 14, 1948, Charles is the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. As the heir to the throne, Charles's life has been marked by tradition and public duty, but also by personal milestones and challenges that have shaped his journey to the crown. Charles's early years were filled with public attention, as the first child of Queen Elizabeth II. He was the first royal heir to attend school, beginning at Cheam School in Surrey, followed by Gordonstoun School in Scotland, a place where his father had also studied. Gordonstoun, known for its rigorous academic and physical demands, would shape much of Charles's character. He later attended Trinity College, Cambridge, where he earned a second-class degree in history, marking a significant step in his education and preparation for his future role as monarch. In 1969, at the age of 20, Charles was formally invested as the Prince of Wales at a grand ceremony at Carnarvon Castle in Wales. This event, viewed by millions, symbolized his acceptance of the responsibilities that came with being heir to the British throne. The ceremony itself was historic, with Charles taking the oath of allegiance to his mother, Queen Elizabeth II.
I, Charles, Prince of Wales, do become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship, and faith and truth I will bear unto thee, to live and die against all manner of folks.
It marked the beginning of a life dedicated to public service, though it would also bring years of scrutiny and personal struggles. Throughout his early years as prince, Charles worked tirelessly in various charitable endeavors, particularly through his organization, the Prince's Trust, which he founded in 1976. The trust has helped thousands of young people in Britain by providing financial and personal support to help them reach their potential. One of the most significant moments of Charles's life, and indeed British history, was his marriage to Lady Diana Spencer in 1981. The royal wedding, held at St. Paul's Cathedral, was watched by an estimated 750 million people worldwide.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
The couple's fairy tale romance quickly turned into a media frenzy, as the world became captivated by the young Princess Diana.
Where are we going?
You look smart.
William, where are we going?
We're going to church.
We're going to church. Over there.
Despite the public adoration, behind the scenes, the marriage was troubled. Charles and Diana faced immense pressure, both from the media and within their own relationship. Their divorce in 1996 was a painful chapter for the royal family. Diana's untimely death in 1997 in a tragic car crash in Paris further cast a shadow over Charles's life, but he remained a dedicated father to their two sons, William and Harry. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away on September 8, 2022, after 70 years on the throne, Charles, at 73, ascended to the throne as King Charles III. His mother's death, though expected, marked the end of an era in British history, the longest reign of any British monarch, and the second longest in world history. The transition to king was not only a personal loss for Charles but a moment of immense national and international significance. Charles's reign began under the shadow of grief, but he quickly took on the mantle of leadership. His formal coronation on May 6, 2023, was a historic occasion, televised to millions around the world. The ceremony was a beautiful blend of tradition and modernity, reflecting Charles's desire to honor the long-standing customs of the monarchy while also adapting it to the needs of a changing society. As king, Charles has already faced challenges that go beyond the traditional duties of the monarchy. His commitment to environmental issues, including climate change and sustainability, has been a lifelong passion, and as monarch, he has continued to speak out on these issues. His support for organic farming, environmental conservation, and sustainable business practices has made him one of the most vocal royal advocates for environmentalism.
No, I do congratulate you. Fantastic. Yeah.
He has also emphasized the importance of charitable work, particularly through the charities he supported as Prince of Wales, which continue to operate under his reign. His personal and professional life has always been driven by a desire to make a difference, especially for vulnerable communities and young people. In his 75 years, King Charles has witnessed the British monarchy evolve. His wife, Camilla, became Queen Consort upon his ascension to the throne, and the royal family has been adjusting to new roles and public expectations. Charles has worked to maintain the relevance of the monarchy in a modern world while staying true to its traditions and values. His reign has already seen some changes, particularly in terms of royal duties and public engagements. After facing health challenges in early 2024, including a diagnosis of cancer, Charles was forced to scale back his public duties. Yet, in the face of adversity, he remained focused on his responsibilities. His cancer diagnosis was made public in early 2024, but despite the challenges, he remained positive about his treatment and looked forward to resuming his public duties. Charles resumed full public engagements in April 2024, visiting a cancer treatment center, continuing to meet with citizens, and maintaining his royal obligations. King Charles's 75th birthday marked a moment of reflection for the monarch, but his commitment to the monarchy and his sense of duty have never wavered. His reign may still be in its early days, but it is already clear that Charles will work to shape the monarchy for the 21st century, blending the centuries-old traditions of the British monarchy with a modern, progressive outlook that reflects the diverse and dynamic world in which we live. Charles, now 75, has lived a life of service to the crown and the people. As king, his legacy is just beginning, but it will no doubt be defined by his efforts to adapt the monarchy to a rapidly changing world while preserving its rich history. More than 61,000 people are estimated to have died in Khartoum state during the first 14 months of Sudan's devastating war, according to a new report from researchers in Britain and Sudan. This staggering number includes roughly 26,000 violent deaths, a figure far higher than the current United Nations estimate for the entire country. However, the true death toll is likely much higher, with many deaths still uncounted, as the study suggests. Researchers indicate that, alongside violent fatalities, starvation and disease have become the primary causes of death, especially as the conflict intensifies.
My
brother Khalid was sick, and the war started, and this is a frontline area. There were no hospitals or pharmacies where we could get medicine, not even markets to buy food, which is essential to one's health. These were all factors which had an impact on Sambori until his body was frail and he got sick. We had no way to go and bury him at the closest official graveyard because it was very difficult to access such graveyards. So we buried him here, pointing to grave behind him. The best way to honor a dead person is to bury him.
The study, conducted by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine Sudan Research Group, provides a chilling look into the catastrophic effects of the war that erupted in April 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. The report finds that death rates in Khartoum state have been 50% higher than the national average before the war, as a humanitarian disaster unfolds in Sudan's capital.
It is difficult for someone to be buried in front of his house's door. His daughter cannot come and see this scene until now. It is difficult, but it is God's order and we cannot say anything, but it is very painful.
The ongoing conflict has displaced millions, with nearly half of Sudan's population, around 25 million people, now in urgent need of humanitarian assistance. Accurately recording deaths in Sudan has been a monumental challenge. Even in peacetime, many deaths go unregistered, and the war has cut off access to essential services, including hospitals, morgues, and cemeteries.
Most of those people died because of disease and starvation. They could not find food, drinks, or medicine. These people, RSF fighters, deprived us of everything. It was normal for them, RSF fighters, to prevent you from food and drinks or prevent you from leaving your home to get medical care. There was no one to offer medical care because we were trapped here. They, RSF fighters, trapped us and we are among them. I stayed among them for 3 months.
Repeated disruptions to internet services and telecommunications have further hindered the ability of families to report deaths or reach out for help. The study used an innovative capture-recapture method, previously applied to estimate deaths in the 2019 pro-democracy protests and during the COVID-19 pandemic, to estimate the number of fatalities.
We used to dig here and bury them. They did not let us get out of this area to go bury someone, get medical care, or bring food or even a drink of water.
The researchers gathered data from 3 independent sources: a public survey circulated via social media, data collected by local community activists, and obituaries posted online. Despite these efforts, the study concluded that the official toll was only a small fraction of the actual number of casualties, with the 3 lists covering only 5% of the total estimated deaths in Khartoum state. This suggests that the death toll across the country, especially in other conflict zones, could be far worse than previously thought. According to the researchers, the war's toll on health is not just from direct violence, but also from the collapse of healthcare systems and the rising prevalence of disease.
Given that Bahri was one of the closed areas, there was severe lack of food in general, in vegetables, and the entry of aid into the area. This all impacted the nutrition of the citizens greatly and led to many cases of malnutrition. As we all know, malnutrition leads to weak immunity in general. This is one factor which led to exacerbating epidemics, which led to many deaths, especially among pregnant women and children.
Hospitals are overwhelmed with cases of malnutrition, malaria, cholera, and dengue fever. Food shortages, exacerbated by the ongoing fighting, have weakened people's immunity, making them more susceptible to infections.
In 1 week in Al Samrab area, we had 144 people who died in only 1 week. Cases found in Bahri is not seen in any other location in Khartoum state.
We found that the main cause of death was disease and starvation.
We found that right across the country, the main cause of death was disease and starvation. In specific conflict-severe settings like Jazeera, Khartoum, Kordofan, and Darfur, killings constituted the higher proportion of those deaths. So, amongst the people who were killed, who died, many more in those 4 areas were killed as opposed to have died of disease and starvation. What is of particular note is that in Kordofan and Darfur, the majority of people were killed, even when comparing to Jazeera and Khartoum. What we found specifically in terms of how many people have died in Khartoum state, we found that 62,000 people had died due to any cause. Among them, we estimate about 26,000 have been killed.
What we found specifically in terms of how many people have died in Khartoum, we found that 62,000 people had died due to any cause. Among them, we estimate about 26,000 have been killed.
Health experts warn that simple diseases are now killing many people, especially among vulnerable groups such as children and pregnant women. While the Sudanese government has reported significantly fewer deaths, its official tally stands at 5,565. A figure that is sharply at odds with the estimates of independent researchers and humanitarian organizations. Both the Sudanese army and the RSF have engaged in heavy fighting that has led to widespread displacement, destruction, and loss of life. The violence has been particularly devastating in the Darfur region, where ethnic-based attacks by the RSF have also been reported.
The numbers of the dead became really big. We bury at least 50 people per day. These are all fresh bodies. All are buried in 2024. These are all the bodies present now. These are all areas that we expanded to, including Kora Square, all these areas, as well as the Holy Quran University area, with large spaces as well.
The growing toll of death and suffering serves as a grim reminder of the urgent need for a ceasefire and a renewed effort to bring peace to Sudan. A cargo ship fitted with a cutting-edge, computer-controlled smart sail is currently undergoing sea trials off the coast of the United Kingdom. The Pacific Grebe, a large nuclear fuel and waste carrier, is over 100 meters, 328 feet, in length and weighs nearly 5,000 tons. Despite its massive size, this ship is now testing how effectively it can use innovative sail technology to help reduce fuel consumption and lower emissions during its voyage. The Smart Sail, part of Smart Green Shipping's fast-rig wing sail technology, represents a major leap forward in maritime propulsion.
So this project's all about demonstrating wing sail technology on a ship. So we've used wind for thousands of years to propel our ships around the oceans, but what we're trying to do now is use the most modern, efficient, kind of rigid wing sail technology to generate thrust that pushes the ship forward. That will reduce the amount of thrust that the propellers generate, that reduces the engine load, you reduce your fuel consumption and emissions. So we can make maritime ships, maritime engineering greener and reduce the cost of fuel.
Traditional sails have been used for thousands of years to harness the wind's power and propel ships across the oceans. However, the fast-rig sail is designed to take full advantage of modern engineering. Unlike the traditional mast, boom, and sail seen on yachts, the fast-rig wing sail is more akin to the wing of an aircraft, with a rigid design optimized to generate thrust.
Counts for about 3, but we've got to find ways of reducing that in the future. So by 2050, shipping needs to be net zero. So we need to find ways of reducing the fuel and the emissions from shipping. And wind is a brilliant way of starting that process because we can install technology like these wing sails onto existing ships. So we don't have to redesign ships from scratch. We can take existing ships, retrofit these technologies to them, and that will reduce their emissions quickly. So we can do this in a matter of years, while we wait for what future fuels will come along which allow us to reach our net zero goals.
The fast-rig test sail, developed by Smart Green Shipping, weighs 20 tons and stands 20 meters, 66 feet, tall. The production units, however, will be taller, measuring up to 34 meters, 112 feet. What makes this sail so advanced is its automated system.
It's more like an America's Cup yacht wing, but it's automated, it's intelligent, so it will stand up and it'll turn and it'll open according to the wind conditions which it knows. So it's got sensors on it, so it'll say, oh, the wind's coming from that direction. The best way for me to position to position myself is to go over there. So if the wind is too high, it will lie down. If the wind is too low and creates resistance, it'll lie down. If it needs to come in a port, if it needs to come out of port. So it's retractable for those reasons. So it's designed to have the minimal amount of sailing knowledge from the crew.
Using sophisticated sensors and artificial intelligence, the sail can detect wind conditions and adjust its angle automatically, positioning itself in the most optimal direction to maximize efficiency. This process is automated and does not require any complex sailing knowledge from the crew. The sail is designed to raise and lower itself within 15 minutes at the push of a button. One of the most significant advantages of the fast-rig wing sail is its ability to reduce fuel consumption and emissions.
The market is very interested in wind. There's lots and lots of regulation coming at shipping about it reducing emissions, and the prevailing thought is that we're going to find some alternative fuel, and there will be an alternative fuel, and that'll be great, but it'll be